Today we have an absolutely bonkers story about an MMO that got off seemingly to a great start.
Exceptional.
And then went completely screwy in a pretty damn surprising way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I suppose rather unsurprising given current trends.
Yes.
But honestly quite brutal. So this is the game, TitanReach. So Kira TV has done a 20-minute expose. It's a situation that he himself has actually got rather close to as well. About how this crowdfunded project has died a horrible, horrible, horrible death, and it really, really has. And I think, as always, cash flow management. Yep. How are people that get into running a company, how are they so bad at projecting cash flow and even thinking about cash flow and getting future funding? It seems really bizarre to me.
Yeah, that's the story of the games industry. People who make games are not necessarily people who can run game studios very well.
Yeah, so like here's some of Lazy Peon's video, and we actually look at this. Game looks quite charming, looks quite attractive. Yeah. You could definitely see, because it is a RuneScape-inspired game itself,
yep.
You can see this as being a third-person RuneScape, and certainly there's, you know, some of those New World-y vibes.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, well, that's certainly going to be a way that'll run on more machines. I know that at least.
Yep.
And for a lot of people, they might actually prefer being a bit more stylized as well. So this game asked for 430 grand on Kickstarter. Now, 430 grand to create an MMO is optimistic. Seriously optimistic. Yeah. Bonkers. I'd definitely say most people have a warped sort of perspective on how much money it costs for games. Mm-hmm. I don't really know how much I can talk about like our budget and stuff for Pale Beyond, but as a post-mortem, I'll talk about the budget, sure. But suffice to say, this is, madness. But generally, on a Kickstarter, that's like seed funding for a project. I think, though, a lot of people who buy into these Kickstarters maybe don't fully realize that it's really just a seed funding round.
Yeah.
You're going to need investors if you want to pull off an MMO. Either that, or you need to have a small but stable alpha or beta that you can then sell access to via founders packs, so that basically you do have, you actually, you're in revenue early on.
Yeah, you get a product to actually sell as a result of the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
As opposed to get the Kickstarter and finish the whole game.
So the game did have a playable demo. It was persistent. It had skills, had playable quests, things like that. Now, certainly getting an asset pack like MMORPG, and then just throwing a few of those things together, you can kit bash an MMO-like experience together decently quick. Yeah. And certainly I've seen quite a lot of crypto MMOs, crypto games, very obviously do that. Yeah. I'm not saying that's what they were doing here, though, because certainly when you look at that gameplay footage, no matter how it came to be, it looks like a product that people would play.
Yep, and people were very happy with it. And over the month of the Kickstarter actively, because obviously they're 28 days, I think, Kickstarters, and the development was progressing pretty well. Seems everyone's really, oh yeah, this, look at the difference between the start of this Kickstarter and now in the middle of it. Nice, they're actually working. Oh, maybe this project has a future.
But it didn't get the money. It got half the money, and of course, it's not a flexible funding thing, so if you don't hit your goal, you get nothing. So that then meant that because they did have a lot of people who were willing to put down hard cash, so they moved to their own site, selling monthly pledges, alpha access, and other things. That got them 200 grand over the next 8 months. That is absolutely... That's a tiny amount of money. Now, it's a lot of money to us personally as individuals, but 14... devs, 12 full-time. I mean, that's like the cost of, if it was in California, that's the cost of one real senior programmer or whatever. Sorry, it's going to be less for a Kickstarter project, but that is tricky. The only way you can make that work is, what part of the world do people live? So if it's sort of parts of America, then yeah, you're going to have that job expecting to be early stage in a company. Mm-hmm. So you would hope that these people had some stock-based compensation or the sorts of things a startup does when, obviously a startup, it doesn't have the cash, but what it does have to give away is equity. Yeah. Now, the staff, supposedly were treated well enough, paid fairly, all of that, tried to be efficient, but overall it failed because they ran out of money. Shit. Now, those pledges are mostly front-loaded, so they basically had to let staff go. I mean, obviously, 200 grand over 8 months is not enough to pay for a team of 14 people. Now they then returned to the game, but with, hobbyist dev work, right? So whenever people had spare time, they would be contributing to the project, which is all fine, but it's no way to make a game in good time.
Yeah, it's going to turn what would take 2-3 years into 6-8 years. Like,
enter our angel investor. So there's lots of different ways to get investment. And, before a company's going to be going into, if you hear things like, seed, pre-seed, Series A, Series B, all of those things, it all starts off with like seed and pre-seed. And that's often where an angel investor will come in. The term comes from Broadway, funny enough, even though it's an investing world thing. So it turns out it comes from when a theater production runs out of money and needs to shut down. But, some angel comes in and saves the whole thing as a great story. So that's it. Now, in this case, a crypto entrepreneur came in to fund the project with no strings attached. Mm-hmm. Clearly, either was planning something later or just liked the project and was one of those people who just, crypto multimillionaire or something.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, this sounds way too good to be true.
Does. Yeah. So dev work is going on behind the scenes. They've got their money, but also out of nowhere, in September 2021, the lead developer started talking to Kira TV about turning TitanReach into a crypto MMO. Now, not core to the design or anything like that, but basically just including a way to mint coins and distribute them to players.
Yep, in a way that I believe the developer was saying, in a way that no one who plays the game really feels. It's not going to interfere with the game. It's still going to be a great game on the principles we started developing it and founded all of this. But there will also be a little bit of a crypto element on the side for people who want that.
Yeah, and we have seen so many crypto MMOs. You've got obviously the crypto art projects like, the Bored Apes and all of that. There's also the Pixelmons. There's the Axolotl themed one that, the recurring, the sort of the daily active users for it, massive. Now, it turned out that was actually loads of people in the Philippines, Venezuela, stuff like that, who were basically being sponsored by investor tier players who would basically lend them stuff so that they could go and farm out the currency, some of the currency, and that currency would be worth more than the minimum wage in their country. So funny little thing with just generally what it's like with a lot of these crypto games. But anyway, that's what they say. Now, he basically just said that, he would ignore the negative feedback and would just refund anyone who is upset and could use the angel investors' money for that. But the crypto community would bring in many new players. So a big flock of bros coming in.
Yep.
Now, this is the point where the whole thing unravels in an unexpected way. Because you could say in the current environment, it's going to be very controversial, but at least it's a business model.
Yeah.
Right? You can see a business model in this crypto stuff. Now we can talk about, longevity and is it going to be good for the game overall? Yes, but it's a way to get money. Yep. Now, wasting that money by, I would say, gambling.
Yep.
Big mistake.
Indeed.
So here's a message from Unravel. I fucked up pretty bad. Out of all the amazing, good, and great things I've done in this journey, I made one fairly huge mistake. During the time I told you to go in on Wonderland, I was also in on it, except I was in about 150k with company money and I lost most of it. Andre sends me large amounts of money monthly for game dev. 1 month I took half of that chunk, 150k, and put it into time. You saw how that went. Anyway, I feel bad, guilty as fuck, and told Andre he cut the funding. Now, 150k a month. That's, 300k a month.
Yep.
Okay, so we're dealing with actually a pretty sizable, pretty respectable development budget then.
Damn straight, yeah.
At this point. So basically, he gambled on time. Now, the reason why I say gambled is because I think a lot of the dynamics, especially in this sort of modern world of things, and this is also seen in the stock market with people, going in and their options trading. Yeah. I think something has emerged more with Robinhood and all of the zero commission platforms, where there's people who they really want to be day traders or swing traders. So they trade all the time and basically they trade instead of invest. And I think a lot of people would say that it gets to the stage of they're practically gambling. instead of, investing in companies that are good long-term companies to invest in, which is, the thing that I would recommend doing over, all of these things that just turn into like, okay, one guy made, 13,000% returns in a small period of time. Oh my God. But obviously not everyone's going to do that. And survivorship bias of stories leads people into these weird situations. And I think that's probably what happened here.
Yep,
I think this guy probably just got dollars in his eyes. Thought, oh wow, I could do this. If I put 150 grand in and, it goes up 500%, whoa! And that's not sane. That's not good to do.
Yeah, especially when it's only half of the funding you're getting per month.
Yeah.
No one's really going to notice that missing. And what if you get millions out of it? Fantastic.
Yeah, but he's running a game development studio, not an investment fund. So basically, the investor found out and cut the funding. Unravel then effectively bribed Kira into staying quiet about all of this by promising him a cut of the crypto they're introducing into TitanReach.
Well, I should say tried to bribe.
Yes.
Tried to bribe, but I've written that bit wrong.
Trying to bribe the guy whose whole thing in YouTube is exposing scams.
Yeah.
Brave move.
Yeah,
Brave move.
It's the equivalent of telling the police or asking the police to help you hide a body. Like, it's so insane.
Now, he'd also, according to developers who spoke to Kira, siphoned off more company funds for personal use, so this wasn't actually the first time. Now, at this time, the Angel had been aware of the transgressions, and more apparently. So, TitanReach CM impersonated Unravel to get 250 grand worth of crypto from the investor, and then just disappeared.
Yep, as you do.
He then later returned it when he was very easily caught, but the investor let him keep 50k because he claimed it was for family medical expenses. So this investor seems to quite literally be an angel.
An angel, yep.
Right? Like, bloody hell, could you imagine putting 300 grand a month into this and all of this crazy cowboy behavior happening? So despite all of this, the investor had offered him a clean slate. Yep. He would even let him away with shutting down the project quietly and slinking away. He would even help him clear his tax debt so he could move on rather than destroying his name, but Unravel, alas, ruined that as well. The investor basically been doing all of this under anonymity to everyone except Unravel and Kira. Unravel shared his name with other devs in the project. That massively then increased the chances of his name getting out alongside a whole bunch of misinformation, which then prompted Kira to release the expose to just get the whole truth out, to get the story out. So the takeaway of this is interesting. Like, angel investors are kind of wild, right? Somebody can, I mean, who knows how this angel got their money, but we have to assume crypto.
Yeah, they are a crypto entrepreneur.
Gotcha. I mean, like, if you even left 1 or 2 grand in Bitcoin in 2017, it will have went to eye-watering levels before the big crash that happened recently. For those people who were just milling about crypto in 2012 when it was a little hobbyist thing, I mean, I remember, say, LTT videos about mining crypto like before 2017. So any of the people who were getting deep into crypto at that stage in time, I mean, as long as you stayed in the market and you didn't sell, massive amounts of money. And then for the people who really tried to go in, I mean, I remember a funny little story. This was, back in the 2017 days. I bought 500, I think I bought 100 quid of Ripple. And then Ripple went up 10x overnight or something. But basically, by the time I'd woken up and realized what had happened, it went all the way back down again. So I missed the boat there. But just people's ability to do crazy stuff.
Yeah.
The people who have just had, a few Bitcoin lying around in a hard drive, so it's made, I suppose, this whole new little class of kind of crypto millionaires who maybe didn't earn their millions in the same way that people would have by being really smart with their investments or by starting, an innovative new company, getting their seed, maybe getting a Series A or something, and then maybe selling the company at a high valuation. Like, it's a pretty different way of getting your money. So I guess this sort of thing is happening now, and this angel investor was evidently extremely patient. Now, it's not the first time we've seen funny things. Like, look, if you can just get a Saudi prince to really like the thing that you can do. I mean, remember the Saudi prince sort of meme on Twitch
Yeah,
Somebody would just be going around donating, like, I don't know, 20k, 30k. People. Wild.
The old the amount of times I've heard streamers say things like, are there any oil barons in chat, please?
Yeah. Well, it's a bit like how, it's probably a good thing that Jeff Bezos liked The Expanse.
Yeah.
It kind of worked out for me. I like that show too.
Yeah.
The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, through his charity org, is the majority shareholder in SNK. Yeah. That's, King of Fighters, Metal Slug, Samurai Showdown, Fatal Fury. And apparently, he just did that because he likes King of Fighters. And I suppose also, the technical reason is to diversify Saudi investments outside of oil.
Yeah.
But I mean, oil versus King of Fighters. I think oil is going to be bigger. Even tourism versus King of Fighters.
Yeah.
So obviously this is more of a passion-made investment. But just interesting what can go on with Angels. Because I think with Angels, there's less accountability. It was far more at the whims of the individual, and that just, I think, makes for more interesting stories.
Yeah, I mean, I think the angel investor in this story was absolutely, definitely an angel, like literally giving millions away to this one dev because he liked the project, liked the promise of it. Apparently, he was getting along well with Kira as well because they were talking about how things were going and stuff. And to me, it's like it's such a great story. It is effectively it was such a great story. Effectively a miracle from the heavens descended to rescue this failing project that was, hey, we're making a new cool 3D RuneScape. And then, unfortunately, the call whatever you want, call it greed or jealousy or human nature, ended up ruining it at the end of the day. Very unfortunate.
Yeah. So, get rich quick schemes?
Yep.
Nope. Now, look, there's definitely people who are going to be able to have an informational advantage on some new shitcoin, which allows them to get... And by the way, when I say shitcoin, that's not me doing a broad attack on crypto. That's me specifically referencing things like Floki that... come on, those just pump and dump shitcoin schemes. Yeah. Like, there's people with an informational advantage you can get on that early before the pump so that they can then do the dump, have a whole bunch of money, be happy, while, all the fools who... kind of watch some of the financial YouTubers who are a bit irresponsible, lose a whole bunch of money, right? So if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. And if you're lucky enough to get an incredible angel investor like that, bloody hell, don't gamble their money. Fucking idiot. So that's the story. And ultimately, it does mean that something that looked like it could have been a pretty neat MMO is dead. Also quite funny that I look at my YouTube recommendations here and I just see there's a crypto video. Yes, buying every crypto from the Spiffing Brits. So that's probably actually quite fun. Anyway, we could have had this game. Now we don't have it. That said, looking at that totally does look like the MMORPG default. Let me double check here. This could absolutely go nowhere. But this is the sort of thing that you need to watch out for. Now, this is not me calling out asset packs. Asset packs are awesome. Yep. I know one studio that was stupid enough to... Because, what you want to do is you want to reduce... you've got, known unknowns. And then you have unknown unknowns, right? So it's stuff you don't know, but you know that you don't know the thing. So what can be really handy is plugging in asset packs to quickly bootstrap you, get you to, to where you need to be so that you can then learn more to make future decisions correctly. So as an example, I know of a studio that, spent, it's well over £500,000 on making custom assets for a game. Ultimately only to just replace them with an asset pack. And it's the thing to do there, the thing that I would have done. I could say more there, but I won't. The thing that I would have done, suffice to say, is, buy the asset pack at the start so you can get your basic setup so you can learn. So I'm not saying this to take a big shit on MMORPG or, any of those assets. Never mind. Maybe it was another asset, but anyway, there's something that UI just kind of reminded me. But look, right, if you get this, and then if I go to Humble... Okay, so just here. All right, Matt, do you want to make a few $1 million?
Not really, but sure, why not?
Okay, right. Hey, get your crypto wallets ready, my dudes. So I'm just going to go here to, yes, I actually bought this pack a few days ago because I want to play around with it. So here's the Polygon game dev assets. These guys make Fucking beautiful assets. Really great stuff. So, are we going to go fantasy prototype? You know what? I really like snow levels. Oh, that's more skis and stuff. So let's just, I also like science fiction, right? And maybe we can get a sci-fi game that'll appeal more to crypto enthusiasts. So do you think it's a good idea, Matt?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Right? So, I mean, look at these assets, man. They're gorgeous. And this group, they make awesome assets, so I can't wait to throw some of their assets into Unity and just play around with them personally, I mean, doesn't this... you can't see it, but trust me, Matt, it looks great. So we're going to get these assets, right? And then here's UMMORPG. So, maybe we're not going to do a space game. Maybe we'll change up the environment, whatever. But through these real nice, low poly assets... I think... Oh, look here. Here's even some enemies for our game, right? Okay, we got some ogres. We got some orcs. So that's pretty sweet. Okay, so we're going to kit bash all this stuff together so that you can, have a world you can run around in. We'll get maybe a terrain, a sort of object placement system, some things like that. We can... don't worry, Matt. We can throw it together, okay?
Yep.
We'll throw in UMMORPG or a similar pack, right? And I think... that's it. I think we're ready for Kickstarter.
Fantastic.
All right. Maybe we'll spend like a month and a half giving this like a theme, some background, a bit of a story. But then I think we'll have it. And I don't want to just turn around and say that's how easy it is to do, because no, it is a wee bit harder to do. But there's a fair few crypto projects that I've seen, like crypto MMOs, crypto games that basically do feel like that. They do feel like pretty much what I just walked you through. And it is not that hard. I mean, Noel, who he helps us from time to time, he's, main gig is something else I don't think I can talk about. Like, this is the sort of thing, you and me both know Noel could do this in a weekend.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So that's just the sort of thing, we know programmers, we're in development ourselves, so we can spot this sort of thing. But not everybody knows that, and that's why the likes of Kira are out there trying to expose all this bullshit, because actually a lot of people are getting really ripped off, really messed up, and it's kind of damaged the game's crowdfunding scene.
Yeah, well, it's damaged its perception.
Yeah.
But they're also, I believe, funny you say that, because I think Kickstarter said there's been more successful games fund crowdfunding projects either this month or this year than before.
Oh yeah, like in absolute terms, it is on the up.
Yeah.
But if you look at consumer perceptions, like people are worried because they've been burnt in the past. So look, just beware. If something seems too good to be true, it is. At the same rate, assets are brilliant. They are really, really great for being able to prioritize yourself on the thing that's the most important, which is the game, right? The actual thing that you play. I mean, there's so many great successful games, like even PUBG. I don't really know this, but PUBG was full of store-bought assets when it launched. But ultimately, if they had spent another 6 months or another year, maybe making all those assets, doing all those things themselves, maybe someone else would have went to market first. Maybe it wouldn't have went the way that it did. So, that stuff can be great, but just, man, watch out. Watch out with these projects. So,
indeed.
I think that's it for us. I think this is a fun little story, and I think just thanks for Kira for going through all the shit he went through in this one.
Yeah.
Because, wow. But all right. There'll be a video there to check out. That's it from us. We'll see you next time.